Hello, this is Andy's Philosophy Corner brought to you on the Steel Plaza podcast. This week, we will be discussing the modern phenomena known as Sunday Assembly. Now, this show is not about religion per se, it's more like the absence of religion. And since at certain points in time and places on the globe, philosophy and religion really were one and the same thing. And by that justification, I feel it's perfectly suitable to discuss Sunday Assembly. And my very special guest with me this time around is Mr. Henry McKay. Henry is the current president of the Pittsburgh chapter of Sunday Assembly, and he's been gracious enough with his time to speak with me for a few minutes and tell you, dear listener, a little bit more about Sunday Assembly. So, Henry, if you could, in your words, give us a thumbnail of what Sunday Assembly is for those that may have never heard of it before.
Sure. Well, Sunday Assembly is a secular community organization. So our Sunday Assembly Pittsburgh chapter is it's a secular congregation, and really the easiest way to describe it for most people is probably to say, imagine a traditional religious congregation and then take out the supernatural elements, the dogma, the doctrine, and what you have left over is kind of people forming an intentional community that's all about living better, being a better person, and kind of having wonder at the universe, and just kind of helping people live their lives better.
Right, and in fact, there's I'm reading here the slogan or sort of one of the basic mottos of Sunday Assembly is pretty much what you just said: live better, help often, and wonder more. And I personally think those are fantastic ideas. Who could argue with that?
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward, and that's by design too. I think is that these are some universal challenges that people have. How you live this happy, fulfilling life, and make the world around you a better place. And we really try to appeal to people that way and have it not be. We say like you should be able to bring your Catholic grandma to a Sunday Assembly, and she wouldn't be offended.
Right. Because there's, full disclosure, I've obviously been to a few, some Sunday assembly gatherings and provided some help with this chapter along the way. But there has never, ever been any sort of, bashing of religion. It's all been focused on what's positive about people gathering together, and that's so refreshing. It's kind of too simple to be wrong. So how long have you been involved with Sunday Assembly? Can you tell me about how you first heard about that and your sort of path that brought you here?
Yeah, so I moved to Pittsburgh with my wife in 2016. We moved here from DC, from Washington, DC, and I had heard of Sunday Assembly then while we were in DC, and then so I looked at the chapter when we arrived here in Pittsburgh, mostly as a way to meet people. Pittsburgh was a place where after moving around a lot, we were finally deciding we're going to put down roots here. So let's start building some connections with people because we're planning on sticking around. And Sunday Assembly turned out to be really excellent for that. Most of the friends and connections we have in Pittsburgh are because of Sunday Assembly.
That's very cool. It's such a cool thing to be a part of a volunteer group because everybody's there because they want to be there, as opposed to a job people might work. I don't want to go there. I can't wait till I'm out of here, sort of thing. looking, and I think your story is similar to many others, I would imagine. I mean, in the course of getting to know the community, nobody really was brought up in Sunday Assembly because the group was founded, I think, less than 10 or 15 years ago, maybe a bit longer. I'm not sure.
Well, there's some people being brought up in Sunday Assembly, but they're 4 or 5 years old right now.
Right, right. I mean, yeah, the adults, but for some of us, and I was brought up in the Protestant faith, and I feel that's fair game for me to talk about. I was there, and just as I've said to some similar-minded folks, when I was in Sunday school, I didn't like they didn't like my questions any better than I liked their answers. I could tell it was going to be a strained relationship, and there's kind of a sense of relief. I mean, I found as I met other members, and well, tell me how you got here, and invariably people talk about their upbringings, and they're as different as as any other individual might be, but I really liked the idea or the Sunday Assembly sentiment called "the one life we know we have." So, what does that mean to you as a slogan when saying sort of make the best of the one life we know we have?
Yeah, well, it's it's a statement to encourage us to focus on enriching where we are right now, our lives right now. And it's a very carefully crafted statement. I think you can notice, it's not saying we're, just worm food and we'll disappear after we die. But it's also not disagreeing with that. And similarly, it's not saying, we're going to go somewhere else and have, some other kind of experience after we die here. But it's also not necessarily disagreeing with that statement either. So it's a a very broad statement, but it still gets to the point of that common kernel of truth of, we know it's worth investing in this life experience we have now.
Yes. This is digging kind of deep. I hope I don't get it wrong, but I think Nietzsche called out Socrates for metaphysics. How sort of the idea is there's this underlying unseen world that sort of dictates things here. And that idea lived for a very long time in philosophy, and I can't remember his publication, but this is almost consistent with what Nietzsche might have thought about Sunday Assembly. If it's not too strained to work in philosophy in this, Nietzsche thought that you have everything you have right here in front of you. You could spend the rest of your days worrying about how things started, or am I going to suffer an eternity in horrible pain? See, that was one of the things that didn't get me real excited about religion, and the one life we know we have. It takes something that no one is completely non-contentious, which is another thing I really liked about Sunday Assembly. There's nothing to argue with here. To just take some of the basics and, gather, be nice to each other for a little while, enjoy a sense of community. So another one of my questions for you, Henry, is what can you tell me about a typical Sunday Assembly gathering? The frequency and some of the common recurring elements that you'll find in a Sunday Assembly gathering.
Well, so this is our flagship program. This is the main event that we have every month. And so we kind of try to put a little bit of everything into it. When we met in person, which we haven't been doing lately, obviously, because of the pandemic, but when traditionally we met in person, there's programming built around a theme. And for example, this month's theme is dreams. Next month's theme is bodies. Um, and we have encouraged really broad interpretations of the theme, but we'll have a guest speaker who will speak, about something in their professional life or something they have expertise in or experience in on theme. We'll have readings that community members will select and read. We'll have people sharing. We have a segment called X is doing their best. So if I'm doing it, it's called Henry is doing his best. Where I share how this theme is interacting with my own life, something about my recent experience. And then we also have music. So we have sing-alongs, just like you would have in many traditional religious services. You have people singing songs, except we don't have our own hymnal. We just have kind of the, popular music that people like, music people like to sing, music that is already relevant to people's lives, and we try to build that around the theme too.
That's great, and the music is ordinarily pretty upbeat, I think. Positive things about people helping each other and feeling better about things in general. And what are some of the songs that you like to include on a periodic or on a regular basis, if I may ask?
Well, yeah, we do have a lot of upbeat music and a lot of positive songs. Really, the one thing as we've matured as an organization is we've started to sometimes move away from just a positive tone sometimes and explore, issues of dissatisfaction and striving and even death. We've had assemblies about mortality. And so we're trying to broaden our palette and speak to a broader, scope of human experience because we want to be relevant in people's lives like that. But yeah, we do play a lot of fun songs just because it's fun to sing to Beatles songs.
Mm-hmm. And if I'm not mistaken, something that has been included a lot in Pittsburgh Sunday Assembly is the Mr. Rogers theme. Isn't that correct?
That's right. Yeah. So he's a Pittsburgh icon and reflects something about Pittsburgh values, about the concept of your neighbors and of somebody who you kind of share your life with and should care for. So every assembly we sing "Won't You Be My Neighbor," and it's our kind of greeting each other song. We pause in the singing in the middle of it while the band plays and everyone says hello to their neighbor and catches up and maybe meets somebody new. But that's something that has emerged as a kind of homegrown tradition for us.
That's the. I was thinking about it, I'm like, wow, that's like the perfect song. Fred Rogers was such an amazing guy. Just recently myself, just learning more about his life and just what an amazingly, incredibly, simply decent man he was. And culturally being on the front of a lot of current issues, real issues that affected people, and it's no wonder that there's recently a few films made about him. Just anyway, and if I'm not mistaken, Fred Rogers even wrote that song, didn't he?
Yeah, he was a really accomplished composer.
Wow, that's cool. Now, okay, you had mentioned when I asked you about a typical gathering, the flagship event. So there's sort of in between the gatherings, there are some other events for members to participate in, according to more specialized interests, isn't that?
Yeah, we have book club. We have we've done game nights before, service projects together. We have a social series called After Dark where people will just hang out, in an evening. We have this segment called Community Circle that I think is really interesting. That was developed by an assembler who has experience, who's a trained therapist, and Community Circle is basically a kind of group sharing on a theme. Very personal sharing
Mm.
Sometimes it's stuff about